Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our reaction and review for The Curse Season 1, Episode 5. We have made it officially here to the halfway point of the season, a time in which big questions have to be asked. And the big question here is the curse a flop? Is it successful? Is this something that we're all collectively enjoying? We've made this clear already. This is probably the most polarizing show on TV right now.
Yeah, it's really crazy how divided fans are from non-fans of this show, of people that gave it a chance and were like, no, this is not for me. I don't like it. And the people who are like, I really like it. Like, I don't understand why more people don't like it. And I mean, the discussion around the curse and everything like about the show, the story of the show, the comedy of the show, what works, what doesn't, is crazy. There hasn't been a show like this in forever where people are really like down the middle with this show.
It's real. I really like it. I'll throw that out there. I'm not saying this is my favorite show all year. It's not, but I like the idea of having a show that we can actively discuss on this level. Like, I think talking about the curse is fun, even when the curse is not perfect. It makes mistakes. Like, this is my favorite episode of the entire season so far, and
Me too.
I don't think this show's a flop at all. I think it's fun. It's interesting. It's weird. I continue to appreciate the idea that there are networks and streaming services out there that still want to give original ideas a chance. I don't know if that's going to continue to be the case based on what's going on in the climate right now, but I appreciate where we are entering. I guess now this is episode 5, so we are entering episode 6, the second half of the season. So there is room for a lot of interesting stuff moving forward.
Okay, before we get too much into flop or not here,
Yeah.
be sure to hit that subscribe button. It is a great way to be able to support the channel and to help us continue to be able to bring videos for you guys. So thank you so much to everyone who has hit that subscribe button, and we hope that you'll join us.
Also, be sure to join our Patreon for weekly live streams all about the curse. We have a link for that in the description as well. They are a really great time. We would love for you guys to be a part of them.
Okay, flop or not. So this is where things get really interesting. Like I said, things are pretty divided on this. Either people are like 10 out of 10 or 0 out of 10. And the thing that I actually think makes this show a hit more than anything else, like, we do have a cast of, unlikable characters, and that can always be difficult when telling a story, because a lot of times people watch shows so that they can connect with people and be like, oh, I see myself in this person, or I want to root for this person. And having a cast of unlikable characters like Succession or White Lotus, it makes it a lot harder. So your story has to really hit. The thing that I think this show has done extremely well is getting people talking about it and getting people like fired up about it. Like the people that are really fans of this show are really protective of this show, and it's really getting people talking about it. And to me, that makes this show a success. Like, we're covering a lot of other shows here at the channel right now, like A Murder at the End of the World and Fargo and Beacon 23, and they're all really good shows. But the show that people are talking about everywhere is The Curse. And I think that makes it a hit.
I think Showtime's got to be really, really happy with it. I am insanely curious about where actually all of this is going now, because on the surface, I think we can all kind of make the argument at this point where it's like, okay, this show is really about the curse that Asher and Whitney are putting upon Espanola, New Mexico with their presence, their antics. They're creating all of this themselves. But is there also going to be something a little bit deeper that's out there? Like, there's been some like scuttlebutt that this is going to have a really interesting, surprising ending. If that's the case, like I hope it's something that we just cannot expect at all. I just think for this episode in particular, they really started to figure out, I think, more of the tone and more of, okay, when can we be funny and really get away with it? When
Mm.
can we not be funny? I thought that Asher having a list of jokes that he wanted to try out was great. I think
Yeah,
he kind of became Prison Mike from The Office.
I know he did.
The moment he was just like, oh, there's a prison joke to be made here, I can have a personality. He just completely ignores everything that Whitney is saying. Let's not compare it to a prison. And then he starts making soap jokes. It's just, that all really worked for me.
Yeah, it does. His cringy humor really does work for the show, and the people that love it, like, really love it. And his timing on that whole thing with the prison
Yeah.
jokes, where it's like, yeah, they've long moved past it, and he's still trying to be like, hey, let's get our little trays out, because prison. I was dying. It was so funny.
It worked because they really took the time to set all of this up with
Yeah.
that just like horribly awkward scene with Asher in the comedy class on this past episode. It's like, okay, here is the guy who's really trying, who has heard a lot of the feedback, who I think he's really doesn't want to disappoint Whitney. He's devoted way too much of his personality to Whitney in a lot of ways, and he's just like, okay, I'm focusing in on this. I'm going to find a way to make this happen. But while everything with him is going on, what we're also seeing here, and this is a valuable lesson both for the curse and real life, just because you believe in something, you cannot make everybody else believe in it. Like, it is great for Whitney that she wants to have this vision of passive homes where everybody can be sustainable and healthy environment. Those are things we all should get behind. We all want to help the environment. But at the same time, she's also being like, oh, if you open a door or a window, it is going to take hours for the temperature to settle in.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue that she's having is just too much control. She is a person that is always controlling herself all the time, which is why this episode for me is one of the best episodes of the season so far, because we got to actually see her out of control, where she's not just like has on this like happy, I'm helping, I'm friends with everybody likes me, I like everybody, I'm willing to do anything for anybody kind of thing. And we actually get to just see human Whitney behind all of it, where she's having such a hard time finding exactly the right person to move into the house, because she thinks the right person is someone that she can kind of mold. She has it in her head what the people will look like, how they'll act, that it has to be like a family with, a husband, a wife, a kid, that she's even taking strangers from eating their lunch. And it's like, okay, I'll take this woman and her baby and match it with this guy who's going to sing in my home and make them a family. That guy was so funny.
That guy,
I died.
He was just like, I got this. This is my moment. I'm going to get on American Idol after this is done. All of this felt...
Even the look from his girlfriend where she gave him approval, like, yeah, this is your time. This is your time. You go.
You do that. No, I loved it so much. It was so funny because these sort of people totally exist, where it is this, I've never really thought about being on TV, but then once they do, it's like, okay, I can do something really, really great. It is really talking all about this idea of, what do people do with instant celebrity? Like, this guy's not there to buy a house. He's just there to fulfill a deal. So, of course, he's going to go a little bit extra.
I legit did not expect him to start singing. When she, looked at him and gave him the nod, I thought he was going to be like, we'll take it.
I still kind of wondered if that was the idea. Because we didn't see any conversation about, oh, you need to sing going into all of this. In my head palace, this may not actually be true. I just want to believe that this guy did not give anyone a heads up as to what he was going to do. No. He just starts singing, and at that point, because they need him to look good for the show, they all have to just sit there and indulge this random performance until I thought he was going to be done before he actually got into the darlings. But then when he started hitting the high notes, I straight up lost it at that point. I was like, okay, this joke should be played out, but it's just getting funnier to me.
Yeah, it was this episode was interesting to sort of see all the different people that came through the home, people that had concerns. Then she's grabbing random people from their lunches. Then she's calling her friend Kara, which I'm just kind of like, I don't know why Kara's picking up her phone call. She clearly doesn't like Whitney at all. They're not even really acquaintances. Like, she seems to like really detest her, like just doesn't like her, doesn't want to be around her, nothing. I mean, even having her come in to be like, hey, you're going to be like this pretend buyer or whatever. Kara knows what she's looking for. And instead she's just going to go in there and start ripping things apart. It's just like, I don't know why Whitney's calling her anymore, but I mostly don't know why Kara's picking up the phone anymore, honestly. Like, she doesn't need to keep like engaging in this. She can just send it to voicemail. Like, why is she engaging?
I'll put on my tinfoil hat. This is just my guess on this. I think Kara seems like a very curious person. It seems like she's fiercely creative. She's an artist. I think when she understands exactly what it is Whitney is doing, like Whitney does have that moment afterwards, and she's like, "Is she making fun of me?" And maybe that's a part of it, but I also just think Kara just thinks this is interesting. I think she's just really down for this idea of just like going in here, putting on her own little performance. And yeah, I think she is in her own way trying to expose a lot of the hypocrisy of the stuff that Whitney is trying to do. Oh, you've got this picture perfect house, but oh, it does not have any security whatsoever, when it's like, I don't know, the vast majority of homes, I would assume, that are around that price point probably have a level of security to them. The thing that made it even funnier, and I think Kara was just like firing on all cylinders in this episode. She had like 10 minutes and it was 10 glorious moments. Is whatever was going on with her and Dougie, where Dougie is just like sitting there looking at her and just being like, you know what you're doing there? That's disgusting. And she's just like, there's a lot of things about you that are disgusting. It's just like that really. And then all of a sudden he's just like, my wife is dead. It's okay, Dougie.
Stop telling people your wife is dead. Like, we get it.
It was so awkward, but also I don't know if I'm shipping Kara and Dougie because they're so weird, but watching them, whatever that was, I don't know if it was flirting. I don't know if Kara was just curious about what makes this guy tick, so she was just trying to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I can't ship Kara. This character is really funny, and she's really interesting. Watching her screaming last time, at her art exhibit. I mean, she's a really interesting character, but it's tough watching. She's the person who actually makes me have sympathy for Whitney. And this is one of the first times that I've really had sympathy for Whitney, because for the most part, I don't really know anything deeper about Whitney. She's so closed off. She doesn't let anybody in, not even Asher. Like, it's all very difficult to kind of peek behind the curtain on her, because she's like so insecure. She really wants people to like her. And I think there's a smaller version of that in everybody. Everybody wants to be liked and wants to try to be, in with people and feel good and feel part of something. And she just doesn't know how to do that. And for the most part, she has been trying to have that with Kara, where she's like, oh, you're an artist. I can put your art up in the houses and get exposure for it on TV. And Kara's like, I don't even want to sign this paper. I don't want whatever. It just feels like Kara's using her as a bit of a punching bag. That's like, oh, okay, it's time to punch down Whitney so I feel better. And, this is a show full of unlikable people. So she fits right in.
Yeah, she does. The moment with Whitney where I don't want to say I fully sympathized with her, but I at least understood on some level what she was trying to do, is when we see Whitney's parents again.
Oh,
and thank
Whitney's
goodness,
parents.
no discussion about peepees this time. We're moving on past that. No discussions about tomatoes. Instead, they show up, and as we sort of got a fuller explanation of in this episode, all these houses are basically theirs. Like, this is a part of their property empire, and Whitney is basically given the understanding that, okay, these are my properties to do what I want to do with. I want to transform them. I want to do some element of quote unquote good for everyone, you can't be around them. You need to go away. Where I think she's really wrestling with this idea of, okay, everything she has is because of her parents, who are
Mm-hmm.
described by most people in this area as terrible,
Mm-hmm.
awful people.
Yeah.
So she's already doing battle against that. And she's so desperate that, okay, I need to look like I'm making a difference. I need to look like I'm really helping people. But, she's really doing it so that people will be like, Whitney, you're so amazing. You're not like your family at all. We love you. Here, we're gonna give you a plaque that you can put on your office door. Like, it's feels a lot like all of this sort of stuff is going on, when in reality you should just do something for the sake of doing it and not do it for like the reassurance that's coming after the fact. But I think her parents are playing a really huge role in everything that is going on here.
Absolutely. I think a lot of her insecurity comes from that relationship where her parents are doing some pretty bad things with real estate and what's going on. And she, you want to try to carve out your own thing. It's like, okay, yeah, the parents have been like, okay, you can do your own thing. We'll help you financially, but it will be yours. And then all of a sudden they're like, we're going to throw a party here and we're going to do this. And we need to take pictures with this because our reputation's really bad, but your reputation is pretty clean. So, our managers are basically like, we need to like hitch our wagon to you to kind of clean up our image. You're going to help us. But then in turn, that taints her image that she's really cleaned up. So I understand, and that was the moment that I also felt some sympathy for her, and I was really glad that she broke out of her, like, whatever you want, anything that makes you happy. I'm a people pleaser, because it would have hurt a lot of stuff, not just for her and Asher, but sort of what she is trying to do. Because I think while she's doing a lot of this for herself, to make herself feel good, they get the pat on the back, I'm the savior, I'm here doing whatever. I mean, some of these things could be helpful.
I think she just has too much of an idea as to what she wants, that she's so inflexible on sort of understanding that that is kind of a myth. Like, even leading into the end of the episode, they finally find this buyer, but it's not the buyer who Whitney wants. You mentioned this earlier. This is not the family. This is not like all of the checkbox. This is a very complicated individual, to say the least. And
Yep.
she's really struggling with this idea, but it's like, this guy actually appreciates everything that you've put into this. Like, he really wants to use the home for what you have sort of set it out to be, but you're not happy with it. Like, the entire end of this episode, she's just like distant and miserable. Is that because of this guy? Is it because the way in which Asher went about it? Is it because she's still upset over her parents? I kind of think it's all of the above, but I think it's above all else that she didn't get the feeling that she thought she was going to get from this.
Yeah, I think it's just she had in her mind what the person who bought the house was going to be like, look like, the values they were going to have, the type of person they were going to be. And then you get this guy who's, a more complicated guy. There's some things she agrees with, some things she doesn't agree with. But the one thing that he's giving her that she just doesn't seem to want from him is the one thing she wants altogether, which is somebody who not only appreciates the home, is going to keep the home exactly the same, but actually knows about these homes and understands these homes and wants to be part of that community, because this guy wants to make a difference by living in this type of a home. He is the guy.
It's just so ridiculous that she struggles to be able to see any of that. And I think she struggles at the end of this episode with, okay, I'm not getting any single thing that I wanted or expected. I got all of this stuff happens. I sell the house to this guy. Even my, my coffee company, that's a little shopping center that I'm the landlord of. There's crime that's going on here. I see, Fernando's still carrying a weapon. I tried to make sure that wasn't happening anymore. There's shoplifting, but I'm going to give somebody my credit card number and my security code. This feels like this is going to come back. This is a terrible idea. Don't just give your number out.
Yeah, it's not a great idea. She could have done something a little bit different, like maybe put like a pool of money. Like, I understand what she's saying.
Yeah.
Where she's kind of like, is, taking a pair of jeans worth somebody going to jail over and kind of ruining their life over? Like, no, like, yeah, no, it's not. But at the same time, you want to be able to like figure out some sort of a solution, to this problem. And her solution is throw money at it. Let's just make sure that if somebody wants to steal, the store is still okay. That person's not going to go to jail or have their lives ruined over a pair of jeans. This is just the way that it is. And it shows more of her sort of privilege in life where it's like, I'll throw some money at it. I'll just buy all the jeans.
Yeah, it's once again this idea of her wanting to look like, oh, I'm helping everybody, I'm helping the community. It's not helping the people working at the store knowing that there's like theft going on and they just have to sort of sit there and not do anything about it. It's all this superficial idea driven thing where because nobody really trusts her, it all comes across as inauthentic.
She's just putting a band-aid on stuff instead of like, providing more jobs. Like if her idea is like, hey, listen, sometimes people steal stuff because they're unable to afford it or whatever it is. It's like, okay, well then just paying for it's not actually helping anybody. Like if you're really in this community, you want this community to thrive, then provide jobs that make sense. Bring things into the area that makes sense. A jean store where jeans are like $200. How is that helping anybody? It's like the store's empty all the time. And I know that's part of the, thing about the show. That's like, they're so clueless sort of thing. But, Whitney, you just need to... I feel like inside Whitney does want to do the right thing and kind of, oh, my parents are like this. I want to actually make a difference. But like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the way Whitney grew up or if there was some sort of other influence that's turned her into this way. But she just doesn't know how to actually help.
No, she doesn't know how to actually help. Asher doesn't know how to relate to normal people. He's got like a terrible temper. He completely lost it on that couple at the start when he realized it wasn't going their way, and he was just like, "Okay, I'm not gonna pretend anymore." Here's the biggest question that I have coming out of this. No, the curse is not a flop.
No.
But is Asher and Whitney's show a flop? Because I got to tell you, I would not watch 1 second of this. Like this show it looks terrible. It sounds terrible. I don't want to watch a bunch of apparently fake actors wandering around a house talking about all these different things. It feels like this would be the sort of thing I would be forced to watch in an environmental studies class where it's like, oh, you can learn from this. But nobody wants to sit back and watch something to be like, oh, this is how I need to be living a better life. You want to watch TV to watch people throw things at each other and scream and cry and
or see some sort of transformation. I mean, the reason that why shows like the Property Brothers and, all these sort of like, let's flip it around sort of whatever types of shows is because you're watching something transform, how you can take a certain amount of money and make something beautiful out of something that's, broken and have that feeling. I still don't really understand why people would watch the show because you're just having people kind of like walking through this house being like, oh, amazing. Let's start singing. I would watch that part.
That part would be fun. And yeah, the other thing is that Asher and Whitney, this is not Chip and Joanna Gaines here. I mean, they haven't really, if there's one criticism I would give this show, it's that they haven't really done a great job of sort of showing, is Whitney any sort of celebrity? Like, how famous is she supposed to be? Are they just sort of starting out in this venture? Like, what is her audience? It feels like she may be like a D-lister in the home improvement space, where it's like she's famous enough that these executives will take her phone calls, but she's not famous enough that people are going to recognize her on the street.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm the most curious about. When the show got picked up, I'm like, why? Yeah. Like, the focus group, and I'm sure the executives know that Asher's not a hit. He's, to them, not funny. He's not adding anything. He's kind of taking away from some things with a bit of his awkwardness. They don't like him.
Yeah.
But they like her But I'm at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, why? Because she just comes across as not genuine. And we're, in an era now where being genuine and being honest with people and having that feeling that someone's being honest with you, even if they're not, and they're like, oh man, I love this. It's so good, whatever. As long as you can play it off that it's like you really actually like it,
Yeah.
then people will buy into it. But like these two as hosts, I don't know why HGTV is like, these are the guys, these are our guys.
Apparently, we're entering a new era of TV where instead of relatability, we just want to make our viewers suffer. And that's the whole idea behind this. We just want to put these two on here to just torment everybody into watching Asher's awkward jokes, this guy singing, Whitney pretend like everything is okay. No, this episode, it didn't even really deal with the curse. And you know what? I'm fine with that because it was entertaining. I think it set out to do what it wanted to do.
Mhm.
Let's just hope this show can keep this momentum and not get so weird to where we're watching, I don't know, Dougie dig through looking for a key or whatever that start of the last episode was. Let's just like focus in on this.
Yeah, this episode really felt like it was coming together. Like the last episode started to feel like it was coming together. This episode felt like it really came together story-wise.
All right, well, hit that subscribe button. It really does help us. We have so much more coming on The Curse as well. Thank you to our patrons for your support. We appreciate that, and we'll see you guys here next time.